Are we on? Lunch break. Glad to have you guys join in.
Yes. Grab your drink, grab your snack, grab whatever you're going to lunch with us today. We have a great show in store for you guys. Thanks
so
for joining.
excited. Russell Johnson's with us here today.
Happy to be here.
So excited to do it. So we're so thankful you guys came in. I'm not sure Justin's awake yet because he hasn't had his energy drink.
Yeah, I haven't had enough caffeine in me today, but we will get there. We will get there. Trust me.
Hey, we would hope that you would like us and share us. There again, we always believe in the show, and we're excited to bring you another episode of Lunch Break. We want to thank Encourage Media Production for producing this.
Yes.
Josh Vietti, the creator of Encourage Media. We have with us today, I think for the second or third week, our executive director, Vince Sierra. I think Vince is back there. Then Seth, our executive producer, is on vacation.
He's on vacation.
And he's newly
recently
engaged.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Seth.
We got to give him a hard time this next time when he comes back. And then we have our on-site producer, Mike Harvey. Always want to thank Mike Harvey and give him a shout out. We have some new equipment today. Kind of have a new desk. A lot of announcements about that. And our creative consultants, Tessa and Taylor Touchstone. Always appreciate it. And Justin, I appreciate you.
Yes, always.
I love having you here, and I love the fact that you're committed because you're on vacation.
Yes, but not from this. This is fun. This
Yeah.
is part of vacation.
This is part of it.
Love lunch break and everything and part of it.
Yeah. So as our question came in from last week's show where we had John L. Ward, we had a really exciting time with John L. Talked about some of the stuff that he was doing. But he jumped in on something because we were talking about something new. John L., we talked about how Kicks for Kids came around, and I know Russell has a fondness for the foster program, and we'll be talking about that later. But John L., we asked John L. kind of sometimes what he had to do to focus, and he said, just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. I think that was his exact quote. If you want to go back and watch that, all of our shows, our episodes are online. But as he said, don't overthink things. Our questions came in from you guys on how do you do that? How do you not overthink things? Because I think that's something we have nowadays with overstimulation, with media, conversation, news. I mean, how do you not overthink things? And we're all going to answer that. And I think I'm going to jump in first.
Yeah.
Or J2, you want to jump in that one?
Well, mine switched, so I'll jump in first.
Go,
I was going to talk about something totally different, but as I talked about last week on this show, you guys, I had some car trouble recently.
You did,
right? And during this car trouble season, I get told I'm giving away it's our Mazda. It's a Mazda 3. It's a 2011. It's old. And God tells me driving down the street, you're going to give your Mazda away.
So right in the middle of car problem.
Right in the middle of car problem. I'm like, wait, huh?
Then you didn't overthink this?
I tried to overthink it. Tried my hardest to overthink this.
I would overthink that
So
one.
he showed me, he goes, okay, while your van was down, you guys were in trouble. This car doesn't fit your whole family right now. I have a motorbike that I drive around now too.
And that doesn't fit your whole family either.
And that doesn't fit my whole family. And so the car, I usually end up taking the van to work or whatnot. So we really only need one big functioning family vehicle right now. And he's revealing this to me, and I have all these young guys around me. I'm thinking I'm supposed to give my car to them. But God has told me clearly, like, you haven't thought of the person that you're supposed to give this to yet. And I go, okay, I'm going to tell my wife, so I give God a chance and put it on the back burner. She's at our women's luncheon, and she calls me letting me know that she's supposed to bless a single mom. Single mom is standing behind her. It's a young girl who used to be on our worship team with the kids, just going through it in a tough season in life, and is in need of a car. So she doesn't know this yet, but we're getting the car ready and getting it
So
safe.
she doesn't know you're giving it away.
She doesn't know. She's watching. She's gonna put it together. But regardless, it's coming. She's getting the car. But I couldn't overthink it. I had multiple people in my life go, "Hey, you're going through a lot of trouble. Your car's this and that right now. You sure? Like, don't get ahead of God. Are you?" I'm like, the devil's not telling me to give my car away. It's like I'm telling you guys, it's a God move. It really is. So I have to not overthink it. Do it, and I know, regardless of what blessing comes after it, which I know and believe that there's blessings coming because of it, but it doesn't matter. I know what God has told me to do. So you just can't overthink it. If you overthink something like that, you'll end up missing out on blessing someone else or whatever God has in store. Because God has a big God moment for all three of us involved, me, my wife, and her. And it's going to be cool. And if we overthink that, you miss out on moments like this in life.
I love it.
So it's a cool story.
So we'll get to hear that develop.
You'll get to hear the update and all
That's
of it,
great.
so it's
Oh,
going
I
to be
love
cool.
it. Well, there's a few things I do in my life, and I've told you guys what I try to do with things, and I always try to make sure they fit my priority. And I'm still thinking about that motorcycle, Justin.
Mhm.
You know, that's I just, it's priority with a large family.
Yeah.
So I'm not telling you to give your motorcycle. So I always try to fit things into my priorities. And my priorities as it came in my life were always, my relationship with God, number one, then my relationship with my family, then my relationship with ministry.
Mhm.
So I always think, how does that fit? Of course, when God's calling me to something and I know it's Him, it's always the first thing. But I always have to make it fit within that priority. And one of the things that's hard for me, and I've shared this many a times, and it may not be something that anybody else out there deals with, but for me and my athletic background, the gym can be a problem for me. So I had to develop a motto so I didn't overthink the gym. I didn't have to overthink, have I done enough lifting? Have I done enough cardio? So my motto for the gym is get in, get it done, and get out.
Mm.
Now that get it done part is part of even if I have to minister. I don't make up extra time because that's where I would go. Oh, since I ministered, I'll stay another, extra 10 to 15 minutes. That doesn't count. I'm getting in the gym, I'm getting out of the gym, and I'm getting home. So that helps me keep those things simple. If I can
That's cool.
formulate a little game. I mean, I'm not really a deep guy, so I have to kind of keep that stuff straight in my head. So that's how I do it. How about you, Russell?
For me, one of the most stressful parts of my day, and if you've got young kids, you can probably relate. It's just getting out the house in the morning.
Yeah.
So for me, I try to keep it as simple as possible. I get up at 3:30 in the morning. I'm at the gym, home by 6.
3:30.
Well, because the gym opens at 4:30.
Wow,
I got to
man.
get caught up on email.
You got me beat.
But for me, that alone time is what helps me clear my
Yes,
thoughts
that's
and
good.
keep things simple.
Yes.
Because if I don't have that alone time and then I try to, get the kids out the door, we get rushed. If I don't make it to the gym, it throws my whole day off. And for me, the reality is that if I'm able to get home and get myself ready by 6:30, the morning's smooth.
It is.
But
It
if
is.
the morning's not smooth, it throws your day off. You're 15 minutes late into the office, 30 minutes late into the office. Then stuff starts piling up, and next thing you know, you're like, yeah, my day didn't start off the way it needed to. But just that simple routine of
It is.
keeping a simple routine and sticking to it, to me, that's how I keep it simple.
Wow.
And if you include things like being healthier
Yep.
and getting a time alone, it helps the rest of the day with the kids.
Yeah.
I said on a new internet show that we're doing, we filmed 4 weeks of God stories this week
That's
with
cool.
Pastor Ron and our advisors, and I was sharing on that show on some of the simplicity things, and I think it was Albert Einstein. One of the reasons he had all the same suits, he didn't want to think about what he was dressing and wearing in the morning. So how that helped me at one point was I would lay my clothes out to wear the next day.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have to wake up and decide that morning what I was going to wear, it helped me that morning get ready. Because otherwise I was like, where's my socks? That
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So I always tried to do that, lay something out. So I hope that helps.
No, that honestly helps me when I really think about it. The days that I plan you plan what you're wearing and kind of plan your next day ahead of time. Those days go so much smoother. I could use so much of that in my life.
My wife knows when I don't plan it because I wear a hat. So
That's funny.
Brad Lawson's, who over our Two Trees Church Brad's Two Trees Church over in Ventura, he and I have had this conversation. He adopted that, laying out his clothes, and he says it just helps in the morning because I know what I'm wearing. I'm not running back and forth.
One less decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when my kids were little, Russell, that my wife would say, don't wake them.
Yeah.
So the less trips I made into the bedroom or into the closet was a big benefit for us there.
Well, and as you mentioned, even just laying your clothes out the night before, just that routine, right? Having that routine that you yourself, you can stick to it, helps you get your day started off right. Laying out your clothes the night before, that way do I have clean socks today?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did my kid have the clothes he needed ironed and pressed for private school today? Just the uniform
Yeah.
little nuances. Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because my wife and I, we do have this, and Tiffany, I love you. At our house, sometimes we'll have this conversation. So we're talking about clothes, and I'll tell my wife that my love language isn't acts of service. So if I've got clean clothes, that's great. But I will wear dirty clothes too because I used to live with 5 guys. So I'm very knowledgeable how to step over dirty laundry and find out the less dirty piece of laundry. It drives my wife nuts.
Yes.
But it's one of those things that my wife knows about me. So we hope that helped you out there. Maybe I even think about lunch prepping.
Yeah.
You know what lunch prepping helps me do sometimes is not worry about where I'm going for lunch or that kind of thing, and so I can focus on more of the details. So our idea here is to maybe put some ideas out there, some thoughts. So the question that you guys will hopefully be able to come up this week is talking to Russell and
Yeah.
Justin.
You already know my question's coming in hot. We like to find out something new about our guests. We like to help out those of you watching who might know our guests a little bit or look them up on Facebook, but you don't know too much about them. So this little question right here squeezes a little bit of extra information out of them. It's called What's New? And we want to know something that our audience watching may not know about you, that friends and family who aren't super close may not even know about you.
Yeah, I will say there's a lot to get to know about me. I like to live life.
You do.
But-
I've noticed that. Yeah.
But I will say there's one thing not a lot of people know, and that was when I was 5 years old, I played Tiny Tim at the Melodrama in The Christmas Story. And this was back when it was in Oildale, right there on Training Grade Loop.
I know.
And I remember, and I'll tell a funny story if we have time.
Absolutely.
I'm sitting on the stool, and one of my jobs was to sit on the stool and kind of lean in while all the cast is sitting there eating, and I'm supposed to be leaning in as if I'm listening, right? And they've got Tiny Tim placed on the stage, but kind of off to the side, because he's the focus of the story, but he's also not necessarily the one that does all the dialogue. He's kind of the one that wraps it up at the end. And I'm supposed to lean in, right, and kind of act like I'm listening. I leaned in way too far once, and the stool slipped out from right underneath me.
No.
I fell on my rear right on the stage, and the whole cast, to their credit, didn't miss a beat. They came over, they scooped me up, they put me right back on the stool and said, Tiny Tim, are you okay? Great. And they jumped right back into it. But
They're professional.
Professionals.
they
that's a
are. They
sign.
were. But I do remember one of my lines. It was really simple, and I still remember it today. It's God bless us, everyone.
I love that.
Great delivery, man.
Yeah.
What a
Well
great
done.
salutation. But I got to tell our audience that when I saw this on our script today, I was pretty excited because the only Tiny Tim I
Yes.
remember was the singer from the 60s, Tiny Tim. And so he's like, I'd never heard of him. Justin never heard of
I
him.
had never heard of them either.
They're just youngins. And so I played for Russell the song Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
should
but when I-
definitely look this up, everyone.
I had to look it up on YouTube, but when I saw the script, I was like, oh my gosh, if Russell played Tiny Tim, he's going to give us a rendition of Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Yeah, I don't play a ukulele, and there's no way you're going to get me to have my voice that high, Tom.
I was excited. So that is fun. I love that stuff. So is there any more movie acting in your career?
Yeah, I see that you were. Yeah, go.
Yeah,
I see something in the notes that I didn't hear in the meeting.
I have a lot of claims to fame, but one of them is that I went and was an extra in a movie once.
Ah.
It was
fun, man.
literally maybe a 15-second clip, and you couldn't even see me because there was probably about 130 people, and then they took that shot and then they tapped it on to another shot, to another shot, to another shot, and then I was in an extra in a movie, and
What's
you
the
can't
movie?
even see me. So the movie was so back in high school and early college, I was a history major, and I wanted to be a history teacher, and I was really into the America's Civil War.
Uh-huh.
So I was doing a lot of Civil War reenacting. Big dork, yeah, I admit it. Yeah.
No.
And we were reenacting a scene that was in the movie Amistad. So the movie Amistad is about this slave ship that kind of finds its way into, I can't remember, I think it's Boston Harbor, and the slaves had kind of revolted, and this guy's on trial for his life, and he goes over the story of this. And
Good
then-
movie. I watched it.
It is a great movie. And then at the very end, and then 20 years later, the Great American Civil War happened, and then that's the scene I'm in.
That's where you
So-
pop in.
Yeah, and it's so amazing because I wasn't only in there once because they used the same shot over and over again.
Uh-huh.
So I think I was in there 5 times. You just can't see me at all.
So,
That's
so
a
how,
win.
how many times
That's
have
a
your kids
win.
seen the
Yeah.
movie?
None.
Russell?
None.
Yeah.
My kids are too young for that. You know, it's
Oh.
almost 7-year-old and a 4-year-old aren't
Yeah,
quite ready
like-
for that
Gotcha.
rated R film. Yeah.
I agree. Those are wonderful stories. So one of the things that, and I got to meet you, Russell, when you were with Mike Maggard,
Yep.
and you were his chief of staff, and I still tell Mike to this day, I don't think he's had another one that lived up to what you did.
Ooh.
We used to work together a lot.
We
had
did.
serving in September and mobilizing in March.
Yep.
You used to come out and you would serve, but since then, I mean, gosh, you went on to be a Bakersfield City Councilman. You went on to the Planning Commission.
Mhm.
So just start us out, Russell, about your life, because it's really about you and a philosophy in life. So, man, just take it over.
So it's interesting because I think for me, my story starts a little bit in college. I think I fell in love with government, and I fell in love with student government in particular. And that's when I realized, wow, I can make a difference, right? I can help solve stuff. So it started out simple. I took the job no one wanted at Bakersfield College, and I said, I'll be the VP of Finance for the student body. And I'll get back to why that helped me later in my life, later.
Ooh, I like that.
So I took the job no one wanted, right? I'll be the VP of Finance. So then I fell in love with student government. And then I realized, oh goodness, they're not paving the parking lots at BC, and we're paying for it through our student fees. There's something inherently wrong with that. You're paying for something, you're not getting a product. And we used to laugh back then that you could lose a VW Beetle in the potholes. The potholes were so bad at BC. So I learned during my time at BC that we could engage the student body, we could get letters, we could generate interest, and we could go out, and we went to the trustees, and the trustees listened to us. And to this day, I give Harvey Hall all the credit, because Harvey Hall
Was a great.
was the one who said, these are our customers, and we're not serving them. And we got the parking lots paved.
That's cool.
Now, that seems minor, right? Parking lots at a local college, small deal, right? But that put the bug in me that I could make a difference by being
love that.
engaged in the process. So I did an internship with a local assemblyman, did that for a few years, had a mentor there, Jeff Flores, who's now Mike Maggard's chief of
Yes.
staff. And Jeff, to this day, taught me one of the skills I use most every day, how to write a business letter. How to write a
Very
business
important.
letter. Just something simple, but I use it every day. And he taught me how to write a killer business letter. So
Those are the things you have to hold on to.
Yeah.
they are. And so then I go away to school, come back, and I always had this idea that, I love to just help people solve problems. That's kind of what motivated me. And but I also at the same time I kind of fell in love with politics. So I had these two passions of helping people through the political process. And so I'm going through this, and I get back and I work for a state senator, do that for a few years, help a lot of people who need anything from getting a real estate license to helping them navigate the system of child support and how they can get current so they can get their license back and get back to work. And
For sure.
all these little things that you touch working for these folks. And it just was literally a life of, as Mike Maggard told it once, it's like a life of service.
Fulfilling.
Yeah. So I went on to work for Mike and was able to, help in his office and help set up his office and formed his office, created the filing system. And at the county, there wasn't a lot of infrastructure like we had at the state when I worked for the state senator.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because we had to utilize tools that didn't exist. I had to create tools from scratch. And so that administrative background that I gained working for Mike was totally invaluable later on. So this kind of like life of service is kind of what I was interested in. And I ran into a mentor of mine before I left UC Santa Barbara and I moved back to Bakersfield. And I was a clever young guy, right? I'm talking to him and I'm ambitious. And this guy owns a small little business over in Santa Barbara. And I don't want to leave. I don't want to come back to Bakersfield. I'm trying to find a way I can stay in Santa Barbara and live on the beach and, live the dream. Right?
Leave the dream that everybody wants to leave.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to him. I said, Phil, I'm trying to figure out my next job and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. You're a great business owner. Love to get some of your insight and get some advice from you. And he gave me the best piece of advice that stayed with me. And I didn't put it into effect until January 1st, 2010. And his advice was, if you could do one thing and that one thing would make you happy, what is it that you would do? And I think for a lot of people, they have to ask, right? They think about it. They're all, what is that one thing? I knew right away. And I told them what it was. And I said, I want to start a business where I help people solve problems and help make a difference in their lives and help cut through the red tape of government bureaucracy. That's what I wanted to do. And he's like, go do it. He's all, find a way. He's all, that's what you need to do. So on January 1st, 2010, I left Mike Maggard's office and Jeff Flores came in, and I started Common Sense Consulting, and I do government affairs.
Common Sense Consulting.
Common Sense
Wow,
Consulting.
never heard of
Yeah.
that. That's sick.
It's a reference to Thomas Paine and the
Yes,
pamphlet
uh-huh.
that was distributed during the American Revolution. You know, inherent from the rights of man, and all this stuff from the revolutionary era in France and John Locke and all these like individual liberty concepts. So
You were bringing in your history
yeah.
education there too.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it. I like it.
So I started Common Sense Consulting, and you know, anytime you start a new business, it takes bobs and weaves
Oh, it
and
does.
turns, and
Understand.
you take on this client, you take on that client, and you know, I remember early on in my business, and if anyone's thinking of starting a business, and you've got a good plan, I would encourage you to do it, and don't be afraid. I can't
Yeah.
tell you in the
It's
first 6
huge.
months the number of days I sat in my shower getting ready for my day, and I was questioning myself, how am I going to pay my house payment this month? How is this going to happen? How am I going to get this done? I got this meeting across town, and I got just enough money to put gas in my car, but how am I going to be able to like go to my next meeting on Friday? So, and when you start a business, those are the conversations you have. And every step of the way, I really feel like the Lord blessed me. The Lord
that's
took
cool.
care of me, and he kind of gave me a soft landing because I started with just a handful of clients. I think I had 2 or 3 clients. One of them was a nonprofit, and I was just helping every step of the way. And it never goes how you think. So when you start a business, it never goes how you think. And it's amazing the twists and turns it's taken. But by the time I got to June, I was comfortable enough, and I was making double what I was making in January when I started the business. And
With a solid business plan.
yeah, but double or nothing is a lot
I
more,
know.
right?
Oh, it is.
But just I would encourage anyone, if you've got that one thing you're
Yes.
passionate about, just do it. Just do it. Find a way, and don't make money the object, because there will always be a way to take care of your personal finances. Always.
You know, Russell, I've told my girls forever, I would tell them just a couple of things. First of all, you fall in love with somebody for who they are, not for money or looks, because those will fade. And I always told them, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Amen.
And so it sounds like what you found was something equivalent to that,
Yeah.
helping people.
It is. And, my wife, she kind of gives me a hard time. She says, why is it you like to work so much? Why is it you like to do? I'm like, and I try to
Yes.
explain this to her. It's like, I do work to make a living. Yes, I do work to make a living. But every day is different. I love what I do. It's fun. I get out of bed in the morning to go to work because I love what I do. And it's exactly what you said.
Well, that's what I say, because I've had 3 professions. This current one being the ministry, but I got the chance to be a professional athlete, which my wife tells me, who she teaches 2nd grade, every child wants to be an athlete.
Yes.
And I go, that's a lot harder than people think. Yeah. And so then I went into the corporate world, but when I'm in the ministry, I love the ministry.
Yeah.
I tell my wife, and Justin knows it. I mean, I don't like to do anything that I can't have fun at, and I have fun doing the ministry.
Exactly.
I love to come to church on Sunday because they're my friends and things like that. So I love your
I'm in the
perspective.
same boat. Me and my wife this morning. So I said I'll be back after the web show, and she goes, "You have to go in even on your vacation?" I go, "Well, I have to. I want to."
Yeah.
And then she got it. She go, "Okay, go ahead." She's checking on my mental health, right? But she didn't understand that like this is I fell into a profession that I seriously love. I feel it's a calling, and I think that's exactly what you fell into, and I think that. And I won't even say fall into. I think that's what our audience needs to hear. You got to go get whatever that passion is on your heart and turn it into what you do for a living. It's really a goal for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people feel it's not financially possible, but God is big and He can make a way. God is real big, and don't ever limit Him.
Yep. So So when you get to that point of you're starting a business and you take work from lots of different places, and I ended up finding myself in this role where I was helping local nonprofits. And nonprofits aren't just, 501c3 nonprofit entities where you're going out and you're doing something good for the community. In some cases, they're like business trade associations. And what's weird is I kind of found this weird little, I don't know if you want to call it niche or you want to find it calling, because I think it's more of the latter.
Yes, I think it's called.
Especially when we get into talking about kind of what I'm working on now. And I've helped 9 different nonprofits, either through a stage of, turmoil or getting them over to the next level or whatever it was. I've helped 9 different nonprofits now, and it's very fulfilling when you can walk in,
Yeah.
make a difference, and keep them going.
Russell, do you find out that you bring something to the table? Because I know a lot of nonprofits, when they come in, they have a heart and a passion for something, but they may not have the expertise on the business side.
Yeah.
So they'll go great guns towards, maybe meeting their goal, but, not being able to fulfill the other side, So like you said, it's a way you can come in and start to piece it together and help them keep moving forward with their passion.
Yeah, and I go back to what we talked about earlier about stepping into that role of the VP of Finance at Bakersfield College. I wasn't a numbers guy. Yeah, I liked math as a kid. Yeah, I was okay. Did okay with geometry, algebra 1, algebra 2. But I wasn't the kid that got excited about math, right? But I found myself through my adult life, as I was in my young professional development, stepping into these into these volunteer roles as like the treasurer. I did it at BC with the VP of finance at Bakersfield College for the student government. I did it as the treasurer of the 2030 Club. I did it for all these different things. And what I learned was how to do my own balance sheet, how to read a balance sheet, what a P&L was. And I learned these like basic accounting things that you only get if you go into accounting class.
Yes.
And because of that, and because I think I was able to learn common sense through my role in government and seeing how all those different nuanced pieces fit together. And there's a reason why people don't understand government, and that's because government is not designed to be understood by the layperson. Government is understood to have a system of checks and balances, and that's part of the reason why it moves so slow. And people don't realize that, and they get frustrated by it, and they go, well, why can't you just make a decision and move on? And a government is structured in a unique, different way. So that brought to me a real level head. So I was able to step in, and I've helped out these local nonprofits because I was able to say, come in, not bring emotion into it,
Yes.
and just say, here's what we need to do to solve this problem today.
Because they bring passion.
Yep.
And there's a place for passion, but there's also a place for supplying what you need. I love what you said, because when you first started, you said, when I was at Bakersfield College and I was with student government, I did the thing no one else wanted to do.
What, the third person that said that on the show at least?
Yes. Audience,
Really?
if you're out there, this is probably the third. This is probably the third person that has said this.
Yes.
That to enhance their career or to enhance their movement, whatever. And you've just said it. When you brought the two pieces together, you understood. But it was really on-the-job training, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was.
With understanding a balance sheet, understanding GL, and all the nerdy stuff that goes with that. But it's important because if you're going to work with government, you're going to have that in the checks and balances. So if you're out there, one of the things that you might consider is starting at the bottom, doing something that nobody else want to do, because that's what Russell said, and he's looked back. The fact that it all integrated, I think that's outstanding, Russell.
It did, and it gave me that kind of the hands-on training or that apprenticeship that I needed to just have the skills. So I look at all the different nonprofits I've helped, and I've played a role in assisting them in one way or the other. There's a couple that stand out to me. One was my greatest turnaround, and I won't mention which nonprofit it was, but I walked in the door, spent 8 months there in kind of like an interim leadership role, and after 8 months, we paid off over $200,000 in debt. When I walked in the door, they were a payroll and a half away from insolvency. When I left, they had 3 months payroll, 3 months
Awesome.
payroll in the bank. So it's actually 6 payrolls,
Oh.
right? 3 months payroll in the bank, and they had brought in a new executive director. So I really, in that position, I felt really accomplished because
Yeah,
they,
that's
if not, this nonprofit, which is in existence today, might not have been able to keep their doors open.
Yeah, that's what stands out is how many nonprofits are you a part of? So all those nonprofits are doing the ministry, and you're helping build core structure within their business per se. It's amazing how much you truly have your hand, and you probably have your hand in more blessing more people than you ever could imagine, man.
And sometimes I will never know,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
that's okay.
crazy, but you're part.
That's
God
okay.
does.
Yeah,
Do
That's
you feel it's
crazy.
part of a ministry or a calling for you too, Russell?
I do. I do. And there's one nonprofit I'm helping out now that I'm kind of back on my second tour of duty with them. So in 2017, I got a call from a good friend of mine. He says, "Hey, I need you to come in and run this local nonprofit." It was a foster family agency, and the executive director resigned. They're in a lot of turmoil. We need someone to come in and be a steady hand. So I did it for 8 months, solved a slew of problems, fell in love with it, fell in love with the people. The people that work there energized me in ways that I couldn't believe because I didn't do foster care. I didn't do the social work. I didn't go out and see these kids. I didn't understand the experiences they're dealing with. But to see what they would do and what they would solve in these kids' lives that are being placed in these
Yes.
foster homes, and when they'd walk back in and they tell you their story, you're like, oh my gosh, you're doing some really amazing work. So this entity was called Victory Family Services, and I recruited the new guy out of Clovis. He came down, worked for a little while. He did a great job, and then he decided, I want to go back to Clovis.
Mm-hmm.
So I stepped back in off the board, because when I left, I went onto the board. I came back off the board, helped out for a little while, and we tried to recruit someone else that just didn't work, and I had to step back in again. So I'm there helping Victory Family Services again, and I've just loved the mission of what they do, but it goes back to helping them solve a problem. So
Make the difference.
one day I'm talking to folks in the social work field at the county, and they're telling me about the problem they have and this tidal wave of transitional foster youth that are out there getting ready to hit the system.
Yes.
And what they are is they're youth in the stages of 18 to 21. And these kids don't have a mom and dad, right? And they don't have a place to go. They don't have the resources. So what do they do when they turn 18? And all of a sudden, now you're on your own? Now you got to have life figured out?
Yeah.
No.
No support.
They don't have life figured out. They don't have the support. Yeah, and they might be able to go back to their foster parent, and their foster parent can give them a little guidance. But, you know, oftentimes that foster parent is taking another placement, putting them in.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're adopting somebody else, you know. So, you know, there's other things that are going on. So I saw the need based upon these conversations with county folks, and I said, you know what? Let's go get the license. I said, we've got the balance sheet. We've created this balance sheet for a reason. We've technically got more of a balance sheet than we need. So let's go create this program. So we did, and we got the license. It took a little longer because of COVID.
Uh-huh.
You know, the
Of
state was
course.
shut down, getting everything processed. But we got them their license, and they now have a transitional housing placement program with Victory Family Services. And they're touching the lives of many
Making a
youth today.
difference.
Making a difference.
in the future generations.
Yeah.
And I think back on it, and I'm like, why did I fall in love with this so much? And is it because my grandma was adopted when I was a kid? Not when I was a kid, I'm sorry. When she was a kid, she was adopted, and then she created her family from that. I think that's part of it, but it's really more just because you know you're making a difference.
Yeah.
When you can make that one little
Fulfilling.
change. And I think back to that one conversation I had with that gentleman, Phil. And I asked Phil, hey, you know, here I am trying to get a job from him. And he gives me the best piece of advice I've ever gotten, which was, if you could do one thing and you're passionate about it, what's that one thing?
And you did it.
And I did it. So if that one instance can make that big of a difference in my life, you know, maybe me by supporting the nonprofit on the business side,
Yes.
and there's people there to support kids, maybe it can help them.
Another key component in this is take whatever you're passionate about and use it to help others, because you're basically passionate about helping others. A lot of us go wrong. I feel like I went wrong like that in the past, of trying to use your passion to help yourself get rich, get recognized. And that's when you lay that down and you decide to use your passion to help others. That's where I feel like any of us are unstoppable, because God's going to make it happen, because He's in the helping people business. So it's being unselfish, and it's very noble of you to use all your knowledge to help people who are just trying to help other people, but don't quite have the knowledge that you possess. So definitely
Justin?
commendable.
Justin, Russell inspires me to do more.
Yes,
That'll probably
definitely
scare my wife out there. She's out there. What else can we do?
Definitely.
It
But it
scares
is
my wife already.
You know, Russell, I use this simple illustration. It's not mine. I've read it, and I forget who the person was. But it's the old story about the little girl who comes up on the beach after a high tide, and there's starfish are up on the beach. And so she was picking them up one by one, throwing them back in the ocean. And there was a cynical person there and said, "You're not really making a difference." And she goes, "Well, I feel I am." And he goes, "Well, look, all the starfish that are out there, you can't possibly help them all." She goes, "But I am this one, and I am this one, and I am this one." So it's a perspective.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're saying, I'm going to give back, and I'm going to go out there and help. And I appreciate what you do, because I was in business, and I helped a lot of turnaround things. So I know that the obstacle you're at, because usually when you come in, things need to be turned around.
Chaos. Yeah.
And so sometimes you even have to make hard decisions. So as you're there, I love it when people are saying, a lot of people ask us all the time, I'd like to go in the ministry. And I go, we're all in the ministry. Pastor Ron has a saying that he goes, we're all in the ministry. We just pick up our check at a different location.
Yep. That's true.
You're in the ministry because Jesus said that you consider other people more important than yourself.
Yeah.
And there's fulfillment in giving rather than receiving.
Yep.
So it seems to me that that's the
word.
business principle that you've put in place, along with some of the principle you had with doing something no one else wanted to do.
Yeah.
Doing something when it even wasn't your strength. And I think that's something that I think that if you're out there in our audience, don't always look for your strength, because your future may not lie in your strength. It might lie in something else, because Jesus said, when you're weak, I'm strong. So I love
Amen.
it.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one of my greatest strengths is the ability to balance lots of things occurring at one time. But one of my greatest weaknesses is saying no.
Yes. Yes. I think that might be important for our audience, because I was sharing this the other day with Pastor Ron. I'm competitive, and that can be my strength, because it's helped me in my past, especially my competitive athletic career. But it can be my weakness, maybe in ministry, because who am I competing with?
Exactly.
And-
I feel that one.
And so I can feel like I've got to do more or do something better, and I'm not sure what that really translates to. So I get what you're saying there. I was talking to my oldest daughter the other day, and her and I have a propensity to be very loyal, to a fault. And I had a couple of those in my life where I maybe hung on a little too long, but it was one of those things. So as you have to figure out how to overcome those too.
Yeah. So good.
And then the question is did you hold on too long, or did they let go too soon?
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that,
Yeah.
because it's relationship. Russell, anything else you want to leave with our audience? Because I know that the Victory Foster program is dear to your heart.
Yes.
That's why I love the fact that we're able to collaborate as a church. And I know when Mike Green went out and talked to you, he goes, "Tom, this is a program to buy into."
Cool.
Who Mike is another foster parent out there, and part of our family and our church, and might be listening out there today.
Well, I will say this, and if I could leave one message with you as the viewers today, it's that what we have in the whole country, it's not just here in Kern County, but it's all across the board, is that there's a lack of homes that are willing to take in foster youth into their homes. And at any given day, there's thousands of foster kids that need a place to call home in Kern County. And what the biggest need is right now is for folks that maybe have never thought of foster care maybe they never thought, no, I don't want to have a foster kid in my home, is to open their homes and say, yeah, maybe I'll take in a teenage boy. Maybe I'll take in a teenage girl. Maybe I'll take in a kid that got arrested for shoplifting and he's on probation, and I'll bring him into my home because I know the probation officer is going to be there to be that extra layer of support besides the social workers that are surrounding this kid that I might need, right? And the reality is it's there's the greatest need right now for foster parents, but not for babies. Everyone takes the babies. Everyone takes the little kids. It's the tough kids. It's the 11-year-old boy who maybe had some behavioral problems. It's the 13-year-old girl who maybe got in trouble for too many times and couldn't stay in a foster home. No one wanted to adopt her. So she's getting this hard edge. But all she needs is someone to open their home, provide some support, and give them a little bit of love, and to be that example so that hopefully you can touch their life and they can turn it into something different.
And a reoccurring theme today was doing that job that no one else wants to do.
Yep.
It could be someone out there listening.
Could be you.
This could be a monumental time in changing your life, is taking in that child. Who knows who's called to do it, but if you are, don't be scared. Jump in and dive. Don't overthink it. It's a common theme. Someone's supposed to do something out there. Wow.
And if you want to learn more about becoming a foster parent, you can go to victoryfamilyservices.com or victoryfs.org. victoryfs.org. And there's a whole kind of tutorial on what it's like to be a foster parent. And there's even a great video from the Arndt family talking about how it's blessed them and their family in many, many ways.
Testimonies are important. That's why I was so excited when Mike Green got to talk to you and came back to me and says, Tom, I'm signing up with them.
Cool.
That's what Mike told me. So if you have any questions from today's episode, we're so glad you joined us. So glad you gave us this time. Probably one of the most informative guests that we've had. Thank you very much, Russell, for considering coming on, giving us your time.
Yes, great interview.
You can reach me if you have any questions today for our show next week. Pastor Tom at vbf.org.
Jay Greer at vbf.org.
Other than that, have a great day. We want to thank our guest again, Russell Johnson, who just does amazing things. Couldn't even get to them all today.
Yeah,
So,
no
Russell,
chance.
thank you for being a part of
Thank
our
you.
community and putting yourself out there.